Well, I am in the middle of the atlanterhavsveien on a fishing trip. The atlanterhavsveien is the Atlantic road which everyone, tourists are so keen to travel along. It's a bit of a shame really, because the Atlantic road, they believe, is this stretch here behind me, joining several islands to Havre. It isn't, in fact. The Atlantic road goes all the way from Bude right to Havre, so that's 40 odd kilometers instead of just the 5 everyone thinks it is. Anyway, today a little chat about worth and what you can make of yourself. I upset quite a lot of people because I interfere with quite a number of branches which you have to be highly educated to be able to get into. Highly educated, that's I should say qualified. That doesn't necessarily mean you know your stuff. So, in 1974 or 5, I decided I wanted to be a scientist. And the only thing I could find was a laboratory technician. So I became a laboratory technician with no qualifications whatsoever. My job was chemical, physical and bacteriological work, and I did that for 12 hours a day for 5 years. See, we are given a finite time, and that time is ours. It is not only our birthright, it is something which nobody apart from killing you can take away from you. So that said, this precious gift must be used in the best way you can possibly think of. I thought chemistry and bacteriology and all that lot will be quite interesting, but at the end of the day it turned out it was, how should I say, constantly spoilt by bosses. In fact, they tried to get rid of me, and so did the unions. Unions didn't like me either. So they proposed something which they thought I couldn't do, and I did it, and that left 2 guys standing around not having any work to do. So it was quickly changed. Then the bosses came and accused me of not doing my work because they just discovered 500 tons of powder in the warehouse which needed to be rebagged by hand. They said this is my fault because I was in charge. And I said, no, it's not. It's actually your fault because I told you about it. Oh, did you really? Can you prove that? I said, yeah. Here's my book. It goes back 6 months. Here's your first signature every other day for well over 6 months. And here's my boss's signature, and here's your boss's signature, and here, oh, we'll just put it down to waste then. So it was just put down to waste, and I thought, well, this is really not what life is about. So after that I resigned. I thought, well, you really need people here who can play the game, and I'm tired of playing the game. So, reading strange and obscure books, which I did a lot of, and I still do. It's roughly 1,000 pages a week. You start on knowing round about roughly what you're looking for. Oops, I better have a look around. No. Anyway, you know roughly what you're looking for, and you find these books in the most obscure places. And one I found, I couldn't believe it. It was by a guy called Smiles.
Right, this is Samuel Smiles' book, Self-Help. It was a gift to Frank. No, it was from Frank. Christmas 1913. And it's got other names inside. First printed 1859. This one was reprinted 1910. So this is about self-help. Turner, who had been styled the English Claude, pursued his career in like laborious industry. He was destined by his father for his own trade of a barber, which he carried out in London, until one day the sketch which the boy had made of a coat of arms on a silver salver, having attracted the notice of a customer whom his father was shaving, and the latter was urged to allow his son to follow his bias, and he was eventually permitted to follow art as a profession. Like all artists, Turner had many difficulties to encounter, but they were all the greater that his circumstances were so straitened. But he was always willing to work and to take pains with the work, no matter how humble it might be. He was glad to hire himself out at a half-crown a night to wash in skies in Indian ink upon other people's drawings, getting his supper into the bargain. Thus he earned money and acquired expertness. Then he took to illustrating guidebooks, almanacs, and any sort of books that wanted cheap frontispieces. What could he have done better, said he afterwards. It was a first-rate practice. He did everything carefully and consciously, never slurring over his work because he was ill remunerated for it. He aimed at learning as well as living, always doing his best and never leaving a drawing without having made a step in advance upon his previous work. A man who thus labours was sure to do much, and his growth in power and grasp of thought was, to use Ruskin's word, as steady as the increasing light of sunrise. Turner, of course, was well known for painting sunrises and sunsets. This is The Huguenots by Smiles. We haven't discussed this one yet, but it's just as interesting. Let me see, Huguenots. First edition, 1867. This one, 1905. It's an astonishing piece of work. It really is, and it's in many ways the history of the Industrial Revolution. Prior to that, this is really worth reading.
Actually, the first book was called Thomas Edward, The Life of a Scottish Naturalist. I read that, and that was quite interesting, a little bit sort of samey all the way through. But then another book which was tremendously popular in Victorian times called Self-Help. I read that and I was pretty much taken. Yes, it was stiff. Yes, the writing was a little bit, how shall I say, stiff. Yeah. But the content was pretty thrilling. It was about all these people going back 600, 700, 800 years. Ah, here comes someone. No, he's got a long line down and he's going to pick it up, I think. Anyway, as I said, yes, people going back a lot further than that, potted histories, and they were chosen because they did it on their own without any help, whatever it is, whatever great thing they did.